So it's another day with 1,800 more AFL news and trade rumours to, of course, talk about on the channel. Again, it continues and continues. We just keep hearing more and more about it. Of course, the first big one that I really want to talk about is one that I feel like if you're a Collingwood fan, you've definitely heard, because I think it might be a major loss if it does happen. But it is being reported by Sammy Edmund that North Melbourne have offered Brodie Myercheck a 3-year deal, with it now currently being said that he has reported that the Pies have offered Checkers a 2-year deal, but North have offered 3 years in front of him. Decision won't be made until the season ends, hopefully with a 17th flag. This is actually an update of what we've previously heard, which I think at one stage, Collingwood, for the most part, were only offering Brodie Myercheck a 1-year deal. I only think it's like the last week where they may have upgraded it to 2, and I don't even know if that's true because, and look, I'm not discrediting what Sam Edmund said with him now being offered a 2, but from what I'm hearing, the 3-year offer from North Melbourne has picked up a lot of traction by multiple different reporters out there, just based off the fact that he's looking at it because he really doesn't like Collingwood's offer. And I don't think Brodie Myercheck would really dislike Collingwood's offer if it was a 2-year deal, but I do think he would really dislike it if it was a 1-year deal. So that's kind of interesting, and it will change the perspective on how we look at it depending where you think he sits, because if he's sitting with a 2-year deal, then I expect him to stay a Magpie. I mean, 2 years is a pretty fair deal for a guy who's well and truly now in his 30s. I think Brodie Myercheck would 100% re-sign on that. I can't see why he wouldn't re-sign on that. But a 3-year deal by North Melbourne, who I would imagine have some cash to throw around, would be pretty enticing. And maybe that's why he's really looking at it, because even though 2 years sounds good by Collingwood, I would imagine that would be on the AFL average of like the 500k or maybe even below it. While North Melbourne, I wouldn't be surprised if they're coming out here and saying, look, we want to give you like 600k plus a year, just because North Melbourne aren't paying anyone. Like, they legitimately should be paying me at this point to keep talking about them, because they're interested in a lot of players all of a sudden because they've got so much money to spend. It's another year where North Melbourne have a ton of money to spend and they're going after random veteran players. Now look, I don't think Brodie Myercheck would be a bad signing at all for North Melbourne, and I've been pretty public to say that I don't like some of the older players they've gone for. I didn't like the Caleb Daniels signing, and I believe that it was a bad signing. To this day, I don't like it at all. I didn't really like the Luke Parker signing after a couple months of giving it thought and realizing they've got 1,800 midfielders. I didn't know if I really liked Parker in there. And then the Jack Darling signing, I definitely didn't like. I thought that was so bad, signing a guy who was on the 17th place team who couldn't get a game at one stage to come play with you. But I was actually very much proven wrong on that. Jack Darling had a really underrated year, and God, if they didn't have Jack Darling down there, especially when Larky was out, I don't even know where we would be sitting. But I think Myercheck's a different case to all of those other players. I think Myercheck right now is a much better player than those 3 players I just mentioned. I also don't think he's going to be regressing or anything like that. He plays the role he plays really, really well. And I mean, if you added him to this North Melbourne team and you have the key forwards of him, Larky, and Darling next year, that'd actually be really interesting, and I couldn't see why that'd be a bad forward line at all. So I think they'll be offering him the deal. I don't think he will leave at all. I expect him to stay at Collingwood. I mean, I think you could almost consider going to North Melbourne at this point being just a sinking ship, and your career is just dead if you're leaving Collingwood to go to North. I don't know. I don't think he's going to do it. I just can't see it happening, especially considering Collingwood are where they are and North are where they are. So I don't see that one happening. There is also another report here, though, on the Collingwood news saying that Collingwood is trying to lure out of contract Sydney key forward Jack Buller, the mid-season pickup in 2023, kicked 11 goals from his last 9 games, including an excellent final round performance against West Coast. The Pies actually have a 2-year contract offer in front of Brody Myercheck, who won't decide his future until Collingwood season end, which we just talked about. Now, look, I don't really know much about Jack Buller. I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about Jack Buller. I mean, I have. it's obvious, like I've said it on the channel before, but obviously it's my job to know a fair bit about AFL, and I would like to say I know a lot about 99% of the players in the game, but then there's that 1% where I'm still a little bit like, I don't know. I mean, Jack Buller, I don't know much about him. When I think of Buller, I think of the place I one time snowboarded and ate shit while trying to do a triple backflip off a little freaking hill in the snow. That's what I think of when I think of Buller. I don't think of some random guy who plays for Sydney that I don't even know his name. So that is obviously the case. Outside of Buller to Collingwood, though, there's been some other news that has kept coming out. One here that does say by Saints Nation, and it's being reported by Gettable, that Collingwood have shown interest in swingman Anthony Caminiti, who I think is one of the more underrated players in the game. I actually really like him as like a third tall type of player for the St Kilda Football Club. But I did like him when he had to play some key back this year as well, which he had to do out of a bit of a necessity. But now with St Kilda bringing in Lekalia, Jack Silvani, and having Alex Saru as that fourth tall now down back as well, I don't think they're going to be playing Caminiti down back, and I'm pretty certain on it. The only way they'd play him down back is through an injury. So he'll play forward next year. But their forward line is now going to have Rowan Marshall in it due to DeConing coming. It's going to have Max King in it. Maybe another guy or two is going to be contending in there. Caminiti might honestly be pushed out a little bit here, which is interesting that we're finally getting to the point, especially for St Kilda fans, where they should be good enough where players might be getting pushed out, which is insane to think. So you might be getting pushed out just because of the depth that they're building down back and down forward. But Collingwood could look at Caminiti for a lot of different reasons, and they may offer him a really good role. Because of their key forwards are really aging, and Myercheck may be exploring his options, they may be looking for another key forward. We know they were looking for another key back though, which they tried to get Jack Silvani, and unfortunately for them didn't make that happen. I wonder if they're saying to him now, look, we didn't get Silvani, but we really like you. We like what you've shown down back. We need a guy to come and help out Darcy Moore down there, come help out the aging Jeremy Howe. I guess, Billy Frampton doesn't need help because he's the Lord and Saviour and the GOAT. So we won't mention his name. But yeah, I do wonder if they're going to offer that to Caminiti, and Caminiti will request a trade there. Like, that could very well happen. He might be sensing a squeeze out from St Kilda right now. I think Pies really need some, key help, and they need some young keys as well. Caminiti, who I think is progressing nicely as a player, could really be an awesome option for Collingwood. So I really like that one. And it also being said here by Scott Gullen on James' contract via the midweek tackle that Elliott to the Gold Coast is very, very strong. Goes on to say, but of the 6 clubs, Collingwood qualifying final team had the most off-contract players: Brody Myercheck, Jamie Elliott, Mason Cox, Will Parker, and Roan Steele. Barnes said both Myercheck and Elliott, Collingwood's 2 leading goal kickers in 2025, had been pushing and pulling with Collingwood in their respective contract negotiations. Fellow Herald Sun reporter Scott Gullen said the Magpies couldn't afford for both Myercheck and Elliott to depart. Elliott to the Gold Coast mail is very strong, Gullen told Midweek Tackle. He owes Collingwood nothing. He's much, much loved. If he goes for, say, a change of environment to finish his career and help them, the Suns, elevate to be an elite finals team, where could Myercheck fit then? You can't lose them both. So, yeah, this is really hard to see them keeping both at this point. Not necessarily because of the money, but Collingwood just don't want to offer these guys long-term years. And I legitimately think Gold Coast will offer probably more years than what Collingwood are offering. They may offer a little bit more money. And they're another team who's contending. And he may see that as an option to get more years, but go to a team that's contending. And we know he's had interest on going to Queensland before. I believe he met with the Brisbane Lions a couple years ago and was this close to signing with them, and it was changed last second. He re-signed with the Pies. So this could be a situation where maybe he's trying to do that again. He's threatening to leave to Queensland, but Collingwood will up their offer, give him more years, and then he'll re-sign. But seeing both of them, I can't see both of them, leaving, but I can see both of them really trying to toy with Collingwood here to explore their options and maybe make something happen. So it's quite fascinating to see how this is, of course, all unfolding. And I mean, the reality is, if you're Collingwood, you can't lose your two best leading goal kickers, or you might go to shit next year, because I think Jamie Elliott has been so important to them. Genuine, All-Australian caliber player, obviously still just playing some elite footy. I think he could very well, if the Gold Coast offered him money, offered him, years, he'd be great for them. Imagine they got him and Curnow, which it looks like they're really, really trying to see how that works and try and make that happen. Moved on Flanders and picks for Curnow, signed Elliott in free agency. Holy shit, if they didn't win the premiership, I would be very, very shocked. That is a goddamn good team. But again, I'd very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section down below. Please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for all those AFL content and AFL news. Who's going to be leaving Collingwood? Who are Collingwood maybe going to be getting? All of the above. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this all down below. Subscribe to the channel for all the latest AFL content news. My gaming/movie channel, which will be linked down below. Go check that out. As well as going and giving my Instagram a follow if you haven't already. All of them will be getting linked down below. But yeah, as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.